Earful Tower listeners, it is a Monday in Paris, and that means one thing and one thing only, another episode of the Earful Tower, brought to you by French Today. Now, I'll talk about them at the end of the episode, but remember, if you want to get, well, it's going to combine to 30% off all of their audiobooks. You go via, it's frenchtoday.com/earful7, but here's a little heads up. Do Earful 8 if you're listening to this in August. But today, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the kind of things that you should never, and I mean absolutely never, never, never do in Paris. And I figured, who better to be on this episode with me than YouTube superstar Jay Swanson. You may have seen him on YouTube. You may have heard him on this podcast before. But together, him and I have about a decade of experience when it comes to Paris, and we know a thing or two about what you should never do. So without further ado, I'm going to play that intro music and get Jay Swanson in the studio. Let's do it. Jay Swanson.
Good to be here.
Welcome to the studio. How you doing?
Good. I'm great. It's toasty today.
It is a little bit toasty, isn't it?
It feels fantastic.
And we're recording this day of.
We are on the spot.
Yeah.
The clock is ticking.
But how you doing?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you looking well.
I was out yesterday doing the Tour de France before the Tour de France toured the Tour de France.
So was I.
It was great.
Yeah, it was cool, huh?
Yeah, saw you out on the road.
Are you a big Tour de France fan?
Fan? I am a fan of the guy who jumped his dirt bike or his mountain bike.
I saw that
over the peloton.
But that wasn't in.
That wasn't
in Paris.
That was not here.
That
No,
was cool,
I didn't
though.
see that here. No.
Were you a fan of him as a video maker?
Just
or?
as a human being.
Yeah.
What a fun prank to pull year after year.
Yeah.
Although apparently it's not just him. It's a series of people that have done it over years.
Right.
Yeah,
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to link that video in the show notes.
Do link it in the show notes. It's,
Yeah.
you won't believe the GoPro footage of your eyes.
Yeah. You know.
Don't even know if that's a proper sentence.
You know what else I'm going to share? Your YouTube channel.
Oh, please do.
You've been doing daily videos, believe it or not,
I don't believe it.
for over 1,000 days.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, over 1,100 now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when you were first on the Earful Tower podcast.
Yep.
And we were talking about Space Invaders. Remember
were.
that?
That was
But that
great.
was a long time
Right
ago.
before we even went out and made a video on how to find them.
That's right.
Together,
Yeah. So anyone wondering, Space Invaders, the little mosaic sort of tiled street art, could say.
Yep.
And Jay really loves them.
I do.
He's encouraging me to embrace my inner love of them.
You have yet to start flashing them. That's the
That sounds indecent, Jay. I'm not flashing anything.
It's the boundary you got to cross.
You mean collecting them, right?
Yeah, because the app is called Flash Invaders, and so
Right.
you take a picture and collect them. So it says the verb is to flash.
Yeah,
Invaders.
isn't it always? I'm going to link to that episode as well.
Yeah.
And the videos that we made. But we didn't come here to talk about Invaders.
We did not.
Nor Tour de France.
No, neither.
No,
Yeah.
no. But I, as I said in the intro, I figured you'd be a great sort of co-host for this episode in talking about the things you should never do.
I have done a lot of things I shouldn't have done.
Well,
in this,
you've lived the experiences of doing some of these wrong, as have I.
Yeah. Well, when people say that they want to live vicariously through me, I figure mistakes have to be a part of that too.
Yep,
right?
yep,
So
yep. You only learn by making mistakes. So in other words, you guys could listen to the following points and do exactly what we say you don't do, and then you'll know firsthand.
yeah, let us tell you the fire is hot.
Yeah, right?
Don't touch it as we have touched
That
it.
reminds me, I remember someone who, the kid kept wanting to eat chili, right?
Yeah.
And eventually they kept saying no, and the kid was like, oh, I want that chili, like a red hot chili pepper.
Yeah.
They let the kid eat the chili.
And
What do you think?
the kid was like, "This is great. Give me another one."
And that kid was me. No, I don't know, but sometimes it's a
And
good
that
lesson.
kid founded the French nation, and that's why there's no spicy food in France.
Yeah, that's something that you talk about in your YouTube videos.
Never ask for spicy. That we never expect spicy food. That was not on our list.
That
but
can be a bonus. What do you mean though, for people at home wondering?
the French. There are a couple of spicy things here. Like they do some severely spicy mustard sometimes. But generally, the French palate does not accept really strong flavors, especially spicy food. So if you want to get like an Indian curry, Mexican food's very challenging to find. There are a lot of spicier foods. And they'll tell you, oh, that's spicy, but unless you tell them I'm not French, like give me the real spice, they'll just kind of assume that you're at a lower level of spice tolerance.
Right.
And so a lot of places that you go and you're like, get Thai food or Indian food or anything like that, you'll ask for something spicy and it won't. If you like spicy food, it won't taste spicy to you.
And can you give us a little tip how they would say that to you when they're taking your order?
When they're taking your order, they'll say, "Oh, c'est très épicé, monsieur,"
Yeah.
something like that. They'll be
And
"C'est
what do
épicé."
you say?
And you'll be like, "Non, non, je suis pas français."
Okay.
Like
Really? Did you actually say that?
Yeah, I will, but I'll say that in a joking tone. I won't. I will not. I don't know if that came across in the right tone right there, but I'll say, yeah, I'll be like, no, je suis American, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm American. That doesn't necessarily buy me a lot of points, but a lot of times, actually, I was at an Indian restaurant with a friend recently, and he kept sending the guy back to get the next level up of spice.
Really?
Because he wouldn't believe him, and he'd bring him the next level up, and he's like, no. He would try it, and he's like, not enough. And
There's a place called something. There's a place that's called something like really spicy. Do you know that place?
oh yeah,
Three-
trois fois, is it trois fois au piment or trois fois something like that?
something
yeah.
like that.
Their noodles do get really hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to, we're off topic, but I went to that restaurant with an Australian woman who said to them, give me the highest you got. And she couldn't eat it.
It's brutal. And they also don't, because a lot of times, what I didn't know is the dish that I got didn't really come with a sauce either. So not only is it spicy, but you don't have like the illusion of any form of liquid in your mouth as you're eating it. So it's just raw, dry heat.
Goodness me.
Yeah, it was good.
So we went off topic there, but it was still a never.
Yeah,
I mean,
never expect truly spicy food
Sure.
in Paris.
But this episode is dedicated to a listener whose name is Alex. His real name is Alexei, but he said that I could pronounce it as just Alex on air if I struggled with Alexei. But hey, Alexei, I don't know what I'm going to go with, but Alex, we'll go with Alex. And he's a fairly new listener, but he's going through all the back episodes, and he says, Oliver, I don't believe you've done an episode of the don'ts of Paris. And he sort of pointed out a few of the things that you should never do. And I thought, Alex, that's a really good idea. So thank you, Alex. This episode is dedicated to you. Good luck on your upcoming trip to Paris. But Jay and I have sat here, brainstormed some good ideas, and we're going to kind of whiz through them, you know?
Yep.
And we'll sort of explain them a little bit, give you some tips, and I'll write it all down on the EiffelTower.com so that you can peruse that at your own leisure, in case you want to remember some of these tips.
And if you ever want to have a podcast dedicated to you, make sure you write in with good ideas and share those with Oliver.
Well, Alex got it exactly right. When you write, my favorite thing, Jay.
Did he tell you where he listens from?
You're a listener to the podcast, aren't you?
Yeah.
I remember when you first came on it. Was that like 2 years ago?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. You didn't listen to podcasts.
I didn't listen to podcasts.
And then we met up for a
coffee.
coffee.
And I didn't like it, but now I do.
Yeah.
Not yours specifically. I tried podcasts in general and wasn't into it.
That's the thing with it's like a spicy food. You know, you got to try it a bit.
A spicy food.
Yeah. Where were we? Yes, the list. So we're just going to whiz through a couple of them. The first is kind of the most obvious, I think. Never fall for a scam. And I don't know about you, Jay, but I see scams all over Paris.
I fall for scams literally every day.
In Paris?
No, I'm just...
I'm worried. But some of the most obvious ones, never fall for scams sounds really generic. But,
it does.
But there's some particular ones in this city. Why don't we both name?
You start and I'll go after.
The one that I hate. I watch it obsessively because I think it's so it's fascinating to watch. But the guys that are doing the little ball under the cups and they're mixing it around.
The three cup Monty.
The 3 cup Monty. I love that. The 3 cup Monty, and they'll trick. It's a trick. Just don't. It's a sleight of hand trick. Do not. This is the biggest one for me. Don't do it. And they'll make you feel like you're going to win 50 euros. But listen to this. Anytime you're on a street and people are doing a trick on a cardboard box in a touristy area, it just doesn't make sense that you're going to win 50 euros from them.
No.
So why would you do it? And I know some of you guys listening have probably fallen for it. Don't feel too bad, but just never do it again.
It's tempting. The reason that I find that one fascinating as well. And I thought one day, I was eating my lunch in one of the parks where it was happening, and I just stopped and watched.
Yeah.
I think it was in Trocadero Gardens, and I was like, some of these people are winning money.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I figure this system out, right, I'll just put down $20 and then I'll win 100, 500 and just go to each one and win, and then I've got my month's rent paid.
Yeah.
And what I realized from watching was that it's not just that one guy. It's usually like 5 or 6 people.
Yep, exactly.
And so you've got the guy who's running the actual sleight of hand. You have 1 or 2 lookouts, and then you have actors who are pretending to gamble.
Yeah.
And so then they gamble and they win.
Yeah.
And then you see that, and you're like, "Oh, I could win," because you see, or they lose because they make a stupid choice.
Exactly. They lose, and then they say they see you watching, and they'll say, "Hey, you, Jay," because maybe they recognize you from YouTube.
They say it all the time,
and they'll say, "This guy just got it wrong, but you know where it is, right?" Just guys at home, never do it. Just never do it. It's
that
a
one
trick.
Drives me crazy too.
Yeah, and I once went up. I watched it like you do, and you said there's lookouts all over the place. When the police come, someone halfway down the street will alert them. But I was once watching, and this young, I think Australian or American woman, and she was about to pay 50. She paid 50 and lost it, and then she was about to do it again. My heart was breaking. And I went up to her, I said, "Don't." And then the guys surrounded me and went, hey, get lost. The metro is that way, go. And I was like, okay. And then I thought, Oliver, you can't save every poor gazelle that's at this watering hole.
It's true. It's hard because when I was doing bike tours a couple years ago, one of the other ones, I wasn't going to, this is just the perfect segue into this, the clipboard scams. There are these women, usually groups of women that are running around with clipboards, and they act like they're trying to get you to sign a petition, but their clipboards are made out of floppy cardboard, which should be the initial sign that this might not be legitimate.
That's a red flag.
Oh, it's a big red flag. And what they're trying to do is usually they're just trying to awkward and guilt trip you into giving them money.
Yeah.
And but if a couple of them are bored and there's enough distraction around, they might try to pick your pockets as well. So you got to be careful. But when we would go through the Louvre, there are a lot of them usually around the Louvre or the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
And when we would ride our bikes through there, you would just see these poor suckers, getting sucked in. And I would call out sometimes, be like, "Don't do it," whatever. And they would literally turn and hiss.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
hiss.
Yeah, like cats. Like
wow.
Or even worse than that. And what I actually found out was, and I stopped doing it because another bike tour guide that had been very gallant in doing that continuously for one summer got marked by them. Basically, they recognized him, and anytime he went, they would harass his tour groups. And so they actually kind of started picking on him and making his life
really
worse as a tour guide.
Wow.
And so there's that unfortunate balance of like, you want to help people, but there's a potential cost to the other people around you. So.
I love that he was marked. I just love that as a kind of idea.
I wouldn't, that's a mark of honor for sure. But as a tour guide, I could see how that would be really problematic. If you have tourists anywhere you go, you get harassed by pickpockets.
But there's two of the most common ones. There are a lot others. You can find them online. But anytime, in short, I'll sum it up in one sentence. If something seems too good to be true,
probably is.
Yeah. If anyone's going to offer you money, if someone finds a ring on the ground and tries to give it, anything like that, anytime someone stops you in the street in Paris, unless they're specifically look like a tourist asking for directions and you think you can help them, you're about to get your pocket picked or
a nice little old French lady.
Just guys, just move on.
Yeah.
And the last one, when they tie the thing around your finger near the Sacré-Cœur.
They're doing it on the Pont des Arts now as well.
Okay, guys, just ignore everyone. Keep walking. Be a flaneur.
Well, but don't also keep. This is one of the things one of the things that I wrote about because I wrote a long thing about all this in my guide, and I think I ended on a point saying, don't close yourself off to the world though. At the same time, like try to be wise, and if it's your first time in a big city or you're nervous, you don't know any better, absolutely just keep your head down and ignore the world. But I guess the risk is too that there are people that are in genuine need sometimes, or just need directions or whatever. And so I know that my first reaction when people stop me on the street is to like back away a little bit and be like, what's? Yeah. But then it's good to remember that we're all in this together.
Well, I've been in Paris for nearing on 5 years. No one's ever stopped me and asked me for help getting to the ambulance, but I've been stopped by anyway.
I got stopped in the metro by a little old lady who just needed to know which direction to go.
Where was your wallet afterwards, though?
Oh, crap.
And that brings us to the next point. Never leave your phone in your back pocket. And this one we can do quickly because it's pretty self-explanatory.
Just don't leave your phone in your back pocket. Yeah. It's really easy to steal.
People will pick your pocket. People will tell you. It's so commonplace on the metro, especially in some areas, that if you have got your phone in your back pocket, like I did the other day, people will tap you on the shoulder and say, mate, don't leave your phone in your back pocket.
One step removed from that might seem a little less obvious because it's so hot right now, but if you come in the fall or the winter and you have a big coat, don't leave your phone in one of your big pockets on your coat either, because even though they can't see it, it's really easy to reach into and grab. And I actually caught a pickpocket trying to steal from my friend Ashley when she was here, but they were coming out of the metro and I just saw this guy coming up behind her on the stairs. Always be aware on the stairs too. It's really that's what pickpockets.
And the turnstiles.
They love to strike it at those moments where you're distracted or you're moving. And he was reaching. His hand was in her coat pocket, and I just jumped up and started shouting at him. So
I should stop right now. Jay and I love Paris.
We do.
We both love Paris. We've made careers out of our love for Paris, and we love telling the good stuff. But just so you guys
know, getting a little doom and gloom here.
Well, I just realized someone might be listening for the first time and think that we hate this place. We just want you at home to have a good experience. But
these are the realities of being in a city.
Having said that, I'm going to get onto another little negative thing that happened to me the other day. I was on the train. I started playing chess. I play a bit of chess every now and again.
Were you playing chess on the train?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, on the app, right?
Okay.
So I'm playing on the app, and I'm deep into it. And then everyone starts acting weird around me in the metro.
Yep.
People start getting up and moving away. The announcer comes over, beware of pickpockets. I look up, And I'm like, people can take your phone at the stops.
Yep.
When the doors open, they grab your phone out of your hands and jump off. And I look around, people are looking at me weird. I put the phone into my inside pocket and just watch what happens. What do you think happened? They pickpocketed someone else. Jumped off with whatever. Everyone started shouting. People bang on the door. Hey, have you got no shame? And there you go. It just happens. Don't sit near the door and play chess. That's another one.
If you're playing checkers, you're going to be a lot more aware.
Checkers, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's good that this next one comes up, Jay. It's never let one bad experience ruin it at all.
Absolutely. I feel like I've run into it. I mean, and I understand this. If you go anywhere, especially if it's your first time, you feel very vulnerable. It's really easy to let a bad experience ruin a place for you. But one of the reasons that I say on my YouTube channel all the time, and it's true, I don't want to be a tour guide. Like, I'm not in this for tourism, but I love this city and I love sharing this city. And one of the reasons that I started doing more touristy content, telling people how to get around, how to see things quickly or whatever, was because I wanted to prepare them as best as possible to enjoy the city as much as possible when they got here, by familiarizing them, by giving them that kind of information, and also introducing them to the side of the city that I loved. And that was so much inspired by running into so many people who were like, "Oh, I hate Paris. This happened or that happened," and then they just dismissed it. And I was shocked because I've had my share of bad experiences here, but how can you dismiss the most beautiful city in the world just by, just from one bad experience? And again, I understand that, but if you let that ruin your time, you're missing out on a wealth of joy.
Yep. And the shout out to listener Brian, who's also a YouTuber.
Shout out, Brian.
Hey, Brian, who I met in Paris recently at the Katoum Coffee Experience event for Patreon supporters. But he said that he got his pocket picked on the metro on the way to Holly Belly Cafe. And I said, "Oh, no, Brian. Oh, no." And he said, "No, Oliver." He said, "No, I'm not going to let that ruin it, and I'm going to get on with it and cancel my cards." So good for you, Brian.
Attaboy.
Be like Brian, everybody.
Be like Brian.
What does this mean, never be controlled by a bucket list?
Always look on the bright side of life.
The life of Brian.
Yeah, see, I
Very
couldn't resist.
Yeah.
Don't be controlled by a bucket list. Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means I feel like a lot of people come to Paris with a bullet point, a series of bullet points where they're like, if we don't do these things, we haven't been to Paris. And then they cram 13 hours of sightseeing into what should be like an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And then they don't ever relax. They don't sit and see the world around them.
Yeah.
They don't explore for its own sake.
Sure, that's a big thing. You got to explore. People that say they have every minute planned out.
Yeah.
I say, whoa. I say, whoa, delete one of those things from your bucket list.
Just one.
And put a thing that just says flaneur, wander.
Yeah.
Just wander.
Absolutely.
Wander with an A, as in, you're not thinking, you don't have to think.
You can wonder as you wander.
Well, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do the double Monty or whatever you say.
But the double Monty. But if you just watch those pickpockets work, my friend. I think that that's not to say you shouldn't plan. And for people who like to plan versus people who don't, it's not to say that don't plan. But I think what we're trying to say is that there are a lot of people that feel an external pressure. They have to see the Mona Lisa. They have to get to the Moulin Rouge, and they have to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And it ends up robbing them of some of that experience, because instead of just spending an extra hour wandering the halls of the Louvre to discover something, they zip through, and by the end of it, they've got an album on their iPhone full of photos and a hangover and jet lag, and they don't remember anything.
Plus, you can't really get a good photo of the Mona Lisa anyway.
No, you can't.
I don't think anyone's taken a good photo of that.
And you want to know what? There are plenty of excellent photos on the internet. If you just go to a little website I like to call... I was about to get really stupid, but yeah, just go Google it.
but it's true. The Louvre Museum. When I went there last, I was kicking about on the bottom floor, looking at those walls from when it was a tower.
It was a fortress before.
Yeah, that was
That's a fantastic place.
That. Yeah,
it's amazing.
And I was thinking, those suckers upstairs lining up to see.
One of my favorite parts as well of that, because I remember going in there while they were still finishing the excavation and building around it.
Well, was this in like the 1100s?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, because you know that they discovered it when they went to build the carousel. They didn't know that those foundations were there.
Really?
Yeah, so they went to build the carousel and the pyramids and all that, and then they stumbled into some white rock that they were like, uh-oh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it turned that whole project, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was like multi-millions to somewhere close to $1 billion.
No, that's
because they had to do the full excavation underneath the existing Louvre.
Because they wrote about that all again because the pyramids turned 30?
They did turn 30 recently,
Yeah.
And so that's, if you go to, so the Cour Carrée is the square, it means the square court, but it's the back section of the Louvre that was built by Louis the XIV, excuse me. And that one corner of it, you'll see some ventilation, like old stony ventilation in one of the corners, and that's where the fortress used to stand. which also gives you a sense of scale because it's only basically a quarter of the size of that one square of the Louvre.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You and I walked through there on one of your live stream videos.
We did. Yeah, we started there, and there was they were ready for Fashion Week, so we could
That's right.
actually barely get through it,
And then we did one of my live videos.
Yeah.
Up the Champs-Elysees.
which was amazing.
Question, Jay, how many YouTube subscribers have you got?
I just crossed 34,000.
34,000. That's
Yeah.
insane.
It's a number.
That is insane. So tell me, I've got 3,000.
Yeah.
What can I do to get to 35,000?
I wish, and you're on the right track. What you're already doing, you're growing so well.
No, I'm not looking for compliments. I'm looking for tips.
Looking for tips? Well,
Just one solid
I have a
tip.
feeling if you took your shirt off
Oh,
more
Jay,
regularly.
Jay. Okay, he's not going to reveal his secrets.
I have no secrets. That's the thing. I think one of the things that you have that you've done on Facebook successfully too that I've never been able to do. We were talking about this before the show a little bit. Is you have a potential with what you do, I think, to go viral more quickly. And some of the videos that you've made, and you've successfully done that with Facebook. I think if you brought some of that over to YouTube and spent a little bit of time. We should talk about this. Let's find a way to make a series for you that's maybe even a little bit more polished, and see if we can't get some of those videos to go on YouTube.
You found my secret, unpolished. That's it. I'm unpolished. Okay, I'll polish
It's
it
raw.
up.
What you offer is authenticity, my friend.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Never offend your baker.
So if this goes for all local vendors, but when I first moved to Paris. I found this bakery down the street that I thought was great. I later came to realize it's actually not good. But when you first come to Paris, one of the things that never let your expectations be undermined by reality. And so just enjoy everything that you think is amazing because it is on your first trip. But after a while, I realized this food wasn't that great. And I walked out of this boulangerie with a fresh baguette. And because it was all fresh, so it's warm and not quite as hardened, and also because it was lower quality, it broke in half in my hand as I was walking.
Whoa.
The thing just melted in my hand.
Chernobyl baguette.
Yeah, so it might have been undercooked. It might have just been bad quality. I don't know what it was, but I looked at it and I was like, well, this is clearly just undercooked. And half my baguette's on the ground, which I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah.
So I walked back in. This is where I made my mistake, basically. I should have just walked away. I walk in and I was like, hey, I think my baguette was underbaked because it just fell apart. And he was so deeply offended that I would insinuate that he had underbaked his baguette that he glared at me for 6 months.
Really?
Every time I went into that bakery, it was an awkward experience, which was a good motivator to go find a better bakery.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, this is convenient. It's just right here. And it was miserable. So do what you can to not offend the bakers and the fromagier, whoever in your neighborhood, because if you want to have a good time, you want them to smile when you come in.
Smart. You know what? That's a lesson learned right there. But I'm going to skip the next one because I've got a really good one here, and I've talked about it on the show a lot before. Never forget bonjour.
Never forget bonjour.
And it goes in like what you said. Smile if you want to smile. And I'm not going to go on about this because I've talked about it a lot, but I just want to stress it. Say bonjour.
Never expect a smile, but always say bonjour.
Don't expect anything ever in life, right? But never forget a bonjour. Throw it out like what's this called when you do that?
Making it rain.
Making it rain with cash.
Make it rain with bonjours.
Yeah, seriously, just say it even when you don't think you need. Just trust me on this one. Say it all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Say it when you're walking past someone.
You also say goodbye 5 times when you leave a place. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever noticed
Less
that.
important though, because you've got the
right at that point.
Yeah, you've got the baguette in your hand. Doesn't make any difference.
It's way easier to make it rain goodbyes than hellos for some reason.
Guys, make it rain bonjours. Here's a fun one. Never cross police barricades.
Yeah, don't.
It sounds obvious.
Yeah. Well, people have been concerned. Hopefully, this is. We were talking about how this may not be relevant in the near future, but the Gilets jaunes have been overplayed in the media, and people are really, really worried about it. And in reality, it's been an annoyance at times, but it's never been so big of a problem that I would ever say don't come to Paris.
I 100% agree with you.
And I think that's been the case with all of the variety of protests and football riots.
Well, that's the thing. That's why this actually works 10 years into the future, because there are a lot of every weekend. There's something going on. La République, for example, there's a lot of manifestations. That's not the word in English.
No, it's a protest.
There's a lot of protests. But guys, except for on the news. The thing is with the news is, and I used to work as a journalist, so I know this is true. If there was one car that was burning, guess what? That's going to be the headline image in the paper the next day. That doesn't mean all the cars are burning. Just think a bit.
And when you're here, when people ask like what they should do, the reason we said don't cross police barricades is because just be smart. If there are metro stops that are closed down for the day, just don't go to that area. And if there are police barricades or lots of police, just find another place to go. There are tons of parks, tons of areas of Paris, tons of neighborhoods that are going to be totally peaceful and calm. And there's a lot to do. So
it's worth not even going near them because you might get flying tear gas.
Well, and you never know if what you're looking to go to is probably going to be closed.
True.
It's just, just go find something else to do for the day.
Which is also why you should have time in your schedule to do other stuff. But
Absolutely.
there's an exception to this rule.
What's that?
Of never cross the police barricade. A big exception if you're in a revolution.
Oh yeah. Then of course if you're carrying over the barricades, yeah.
Then you should storm the barricade.
Just make sure to bring your musket
and change the future of France. There goes the bell, which means it's time for the next one, which is never feel embarrassed to try your French.
Yeah, never. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Just try. It's endearing.
Yeah.
If you're trying, and it's like anywhere. In Paris, they increasingly speak English. When I first lived in France 10 or 11 years ago now, wow, yeah, it's almost 12 years ago now, nobody wanted to speak English. And there were some people that were interested in it, but if you went into shops or anywhere else, they didn't give you any ground. Now, a lot of people speak English. And in Paris, a lot of younger people really want to speak English, and the level has definitely advanced. That said, it's only polite, and it's only going to win people over more quickly if you make an effort in French. It's like if anybody walked into your home or your business and just started barking at you in a language you didn't know, you would immediately feel unwarm. I don't know, cold towards that person. And it's the same thing. If they make an effort, you would make an effort back. And if you realize you spoke that language, then you would try to help them. And so I think the French very, very much appreciate that, and they'll bend over backwards to help you if you say bonjour, and if you try to speak in French, you're going to have a much, much better time.
And well said, Jay. And,
thank you.
And don't be disheartened.
Peabody, please.
Don't be disheartened if they switch to English on you either.
No,
because often they're just doing it. They don't. That doesn't mean they're saying, "You idiot."
No.
You are butchering
That's
my
a great
language.
Comment, yeah.
It often means that they're trying to be they're trying to help you. Like sometimes they'll do it even if they speak worse English and you speak French because they're trying to help. So don't be disheartened. It's really important. Yeah. And I'll probably touch on this again at the end of the episode when I talk about French Today, the sponsor of this very show. But I'm going to get back to Alexei, aka Alex.
Good old Alex.
Tolkachev is his last name, and he added a fun bit at the end of the email. I think you'll like this. He says, since you like French slang, he's saying it to me, but I'm saying it to you now.
I want in on this.
Tell me and your listeners if you've heard this one. I was hanging out with some kids in their late teens, I think, in the suburbs, Gonesse, to be specific here, and they were discussing going to town. I heard them mention le métro, and I asked them what that meant, and they said it's the same as le métro, but you pretend that the métro is spelled M-E-T-R-A-U-X, as in plural. So like travaux.
Yeah.
So the métro is like the travail, so it's singular.
Intéressant.
Get it? Grammatically, that would make the plural of a non-existent word, métro. Et voilà. I wonder if this word survives now. Have you heard it?
I've never heard that before.
No. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Métro.
It's very Verlaine-esque, isn't it? Like it's the way that they put that together.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Wow!
Have you heard it before?
No, I haven't.
Neither have I. That was pretty cool.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Travail, travaux, métro, métro.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm going to use it. No,
I like
I'm probably not going to use it.
Going to cut that one out?
No, I mean, I'm probably not going to use it. I don't cut stuff out of the episode. This is raw.
We've been here for 5 hours. How can you claim that?
Okay, now I've got a couple more to get through, but time's slipping away.
You won't let me out.
Time is sliding away. Never forget online tickets. This is one that you brought in.
I did.
I'm no expert on this, so maybe you can explain.
I wouldn't say that I'm an expert, but I would say that anytime you're going to an event that offers online tickets, there's a chance it's going to be cheaper, but the almost bigger guarantee is that you're going to get in faster. So if you go to the Eiffel Tower and there's nobody there, it's not going to matter because you'll buy your ticket and walk straight in. But if you go to the Eiffel Tower and there are a ton of people there could be an hour and a half wait just to buy tickets.
Yeah.
So you could go to the other line that's also going to be a wait, but at least you don't have to do two lines.
As in pre-bought ticket line.
Yeah, so they'll let you through security in a different line, and then you'll go line up for the elevator or the stairs in a different line.
And if you're thinking that you're at the end of this big queue at the Eiffel Tower, you just buy it on your phone. Come on, guys, it's not going to work like that. You have to buy it the day before.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I've never done it, but I know that's the case.
Yeah, I don't remember when I went to the Eiffel Tower. I just bought it there the last time I went, and there was nobody there, so it worked out. But I've been by and just seen ungodly lines.
Yeah.
And with the Louvre, it's similar where they have you can get into the Louvre. One of the tips I gave in that video that you mentioned was different entrances that you can get into the Louvre because you'll see at the pyramid or other places, but especially the pyramid is super, super long lines. And what a lot of people don't realize is that's just to get through security. That's not even to get your ticket. And then there's another line downstairs for tickets, and then you go in. So if you buy your ticket, you can sometimes skip the line because you have a ticket. But if nothing else, once you get downstairs, just go straight to one of the entrances and avoid waiting in line.
So where's the quickest entrance?
Depends. If there's no one at the pyramid, just do the pyramid. That is the fastest because it puts you right in the middle of the entrance.
Sure.
But if there's a long line there, the Carousel du Louvre is always a great option.
So look that up. Carousel du Louvre, everybody. Jay, we have to get on to the last point.
Yes.
Because this is a half-hour show, for goodness sake.
I don't know how you're going to edit these 9 hours down.
It says, I wrote this. It says, never forget, as a last point,
Your showrunner.
Never forget that Paris isn't France and France isn't Paris.
That was yours as well.
You're nodding over there.
It's true.
You agree?
Yeah. Paris is. It's like thinking that all of Australia is Sydney or all of America is New York.
It's just pretty much like a lot of the things that we've said over this past half an hour, like never offend your baker or never fall for a scam or say bonjour. It all applies, right?
But we tend to forget that when we're going to a magical place like Paris.
Yeah.
Right? Because we think that it's so different. Like it's this magical experience, and it is. But if you want to see French culture in all of its glory, you gotta hop a train, right?
Hop on a train, buy a scooter, do whatever you need to do.
That I wish I could buy a scooter.
just get out there, and there is so much to see in this country. And don't forget it, guys. I talk about Paris a lot, but Paris isn't France. France isn't Paris.
You know what you could do to see some more of France is you could go back and listen to your honeymoon episodes.
You absolutely could. Would you believe it? That honeymoon started almost a year ago.
That is crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
How long? We've known each other for like 2 years now?
Crazy.
2, 3? No, 2.
Time is flying. I got a message. It was my wedding anniversary yesterday.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks very much.
Happy anniversary, Lena, if you're listening.
She's not listening.
Lena.
There was someone put a comment on the Instagram page and they go, oh, I still remember your honeymoon. And I was like, oh, wow, it's a year ago.
Yeah.
Time flies. If you're new to this show, my honeymoon was Lena and my wife and I, we got on a little red scooter, top speed, 30 miles an hour, 45 kilometers an hour, drove around the whole damn country over 2 months.
And made a whole bunch of episodes about the experience.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that either. We're here to talk about the things you should never do in Paris. I think we summed it up pretty well.
I think we nailed it.
But just kind of quickly, Jay, how's things going for you?
Things are great. I just moved into a new office down in the Marais, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
It's oh man, it's life-changing.
I watched your video. It looks very big.
It's like twice the size of my apartment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Wow.
I love it.
And how's that going to change everything?
It's gonna. Well, speaking of like never use the metro too often, in order to do what I do, because I make a video every day, it means that I have 3 hours of editing to do at night, which can ruin my social life if nothing else. And what I was having to do that, like if you and I were going to go grab a drink, let's say, I would have to finish filming my video for the day, go home, and I live usually about 40 minutes away by metro, no matter where I am in Paris,
Right.
It feels like. Go home, sit down, edit for a few hours, and then come back out. And what that means is that 40-minute one-way ride, I've just done 4 times during the day. Once to get out, film, wants to go home, wants to come back, wants to go back. So that's like an hour and a half of my day just gone on the metro every day. I spend it listening to you, of course, but aside from that, I can do that just on my regular morning commute. And so giving me that hour and a half back where now I can go back to my office instead.
Sure.
Finish, leave my laptop there, and go out. I haven't fully comprehended what that's going to mean for my life.
That could almost be a tip in this very episode. Is like, in actual seriousness, when from what you just said, if you come to Paris, when you stay centrally,
Yes.
it makes a big difference.
Huge difference.
It's almost worth splashing out because
a huge difference.
Yeah.
People like it, there are a couple of exceptions to that if you can get right onto an RER or something like that. But I always say, people ask me all the time where they should stay in the city, and I ended up writing a whole piece of that in my guide just to say like central is best. And if you, especially because I feel like not only for the timing, but once you get out into the city, there are pockets of the city that are more far removed. If you don't know very well, you might have to walk 15 minutes to get to a metro or something.
Yeah.
It might be one of the slightly sketchier parts of town, which do exist in Paris, even though Paris is very safe. And so if you don't know yet the city very well, it's really good to stay in a central location and explore from there.
Yep.
Because you're going to discover parts of the city that you're going to love more, but at least you're not taking a risk on it.
Plus, you can always duck home for, even just something really stupid, like if you forgot your sunglasses, duck home.
Right.
Have your sunglasses, have a drink of water, and then go out again. Whereas when you living out in the suburbs, you're tough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's don't live at the end of a metro line.
No.
But yeah, Paris is very walkable. I think one of the tips you give a lot that I've thought about, because I was kind of an advocate for the metro when I started, just because of the videos that I was making, and I do love the metro. But don't use the metro if you can help it.
Yeah.
Walk.
Yeah,
Stay above ground.
Yeah.
Get a Lime scooter or a Vélib or something.
Sure.
And just try to enjoy the city, because it's not that big of a city. And if you're able to just stay above ground, you'll see so much more and have a real sense of how things are connected.
Especially if you're during the heat wave.
Yeah.
I found myself in a different part of town for a number of reasons, including getting a nail out of the wheel of my skirt.
Right, I remember that.
But I was not very far from where I needed to go, like maybe half an hour walk or 10 minutes on the metro. I was like, I'm still, even though it's 43 degrees Celsius out there, I'm gonna walk, and it's cool because you see new things.
Yeah,
it's always cool.
Can I do something really quick?
Please.
You, for those of you listening at home right now, Oliver is full of good information. And one of the things I admire about Oliver is his ability to make very good and quick connections with interesting people, get them on his podcast, to share Paris with you and with me. I enjoy listening to his podcast very much. And one of the things that makes it more possible than anything in the world is direct listener support from people like you. And if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to go look up the Earful Tower podcast on Patreon, there are so many cool perks and deals that you'll get if you go and you support Oliver right now, today. Exclusive videos, live streams, walkthroughs, you have it all, including apparently now even cuppings and coffee tastings here locally in Paris.
Yeah.
Jump on that, because it makes a huge difference. And in knowing him for the last 2 years and seeing how his Patreon has grown and seeing the impact it's had on not only his podcast but his life, his smile has only gotten bigger. If you want to make Oliver's smile even bigger, go today, pledge whatever amount you can. There's no pressure, but it makes a huge difference. And if you can't, just think about it. And at some point, as soon as you can, if you enjoy this content, you want it to keep going, you want it to keep coming at you at a regular basis, go support him on Patreon, because it's going to make a huge difference, especially for the long-term health of his podcast.
That is very kind of you to say that, Jay.
It's very true. I fully believe it.
Well, thank you very much, Jay. And thank you. We can end on that, I think.
I think that's where we should.
Thank you for being on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And look forward to doing some more live videos with you soon. And everybody else, hang around. I'm going to talk a little bit about French today and the exciting new Eiffel Tower meetups that are happening around the world. But Jay Swanson, thank you very much for being in the studio. Everybody go and check out his YouTube channel, Jay Swanson. Just search Jay Swanson on the internet, or look on my site or the show notes. I'm going to be linking to all the videos and stuff that we've talked about of his. And Jay, merci encore.
De rien, mon frère.
Well, there you have it. That was Jay Swanson, YouTube superstar, and what a lovely guy. Fancy him just coming out of the blue and saying those lovely words about signing up on Patreon, but he's exactly right. You'll put a big smile on my face, so if you've been thinking about it, do it now. But also, go and check out Jay's work. He puts a staggering amount of effort into the YouTube videos that he puts out every day. It's a really good look, a really, really good look at Paris, and a really nice linear story about his life. So you'll feel like you're in Paris if you're checking out his videos. Go and do it now. But I want to talk to you. Thank you first for all the emails that people have been sending in this week. Far, far too many for me to read, but I want to point your attention towards the book club before I get into a little bit of French today, because something really interesting happened there this week. Firstly, the book club, if you never heard about it, every month, usually I pick a book about France or Paris. We all read it in a Facebook group that's got about 600 people in it now, and then we discuss it. This past month, I let everyone pick their own book and share what they thought. It was really fun. There were a lot of messages coming through, but the one thing that I thought was especially cool was that a couple of people who'd never met before in Perth, Western Australia, where I used to live totally coincidentally, they decided to meet up and have a little, well, like an Eiffel Tower meetup, I guess they called it. And they went to a French cafe in Perth, and they sat down and they talked about, well, the podcast and Paris and books and stuff like that. And firstly, what I think was really interesting, they posted it in the Eiffel Tower Book Club. So I'm looking at the book club now, and it was Megan Crust, and she sent a picture that I love. It was her and Felicia sitting with croissants and coffees at what she called the inaugural meeting of Perth Earfuls. I love that as well. I love everything about this. Discussing books and podcasts. We'd love to have others join us next time. And what do you think happened? People started commenting, I'm in Perth, I'll come to the next one. And then what happened? People in Melbourne started commenting, anyone in Melbourne? And it looks to me like 4, 5, 6 people are going to meet up in Melbourne soon. But what I thought would be really cool would be to hear from other people who take similar initiatives, because I imagine in some cities, I'm looking at you, San Francisco or LA, I reckon you can get quite a number of people together. So keep that in mind, have a go, have a think about it, and let me know how it goes. I want to know where the biggest earful meetup is that I've got nothing to do with. But I'll read out this message from the two of them that they sent afterwards, because I thought it was very sweet indeed. Both of them sent me a message, and I'll give you excerpts from both of them. Megan says, even though she'd not met Felicia, only exchanged a couple of short emails before, it was very easy to chat because we have the Eiffel Tower in common, and you've given us a wealth of conversational topics. She mentions some of the things that they eat, and she mentions that she brought along a Paris sign for the photo. I'll get back to that. And they talked about recent trips to France and how they've been listening to the podcast and how they're both continuing their French language journey with French Today, frenchtoday.com/earful7. And she says it was really fun to do. Looking forward to Nolene and her husband joining us next time. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Then she says, although you might have just intended to do a podcast, I think you've actually started a global community. Despite all the bad and sad news we hear of, how refreshing it is to know two strangers can meet, smile, and laugh and be in the moment. I look forward to more people joining us in Perth, Western Australia. Even if you're passing through, we'd love to meet you. I don't know if she's talking to me there or other people in Perth, but get in touch with her via the Facebook group, I guess. You'll see the thing. Just put a comment under it. Then I got a message from Felicia, the other woman that was there, and she says she also sent a longish email, so I'll just give you bits of it, what they talked about, their bucket list, cafes, French cafes in Perth, and how they lamented not being able to hop on over to Paris for the event at the Ambassador's Residence, which is in October. Guys, if you're Patreon supporters, you'll be coming to the best balcony in Paris in late October. But then she added that the Paris sign, these big sort of letters of Paris that Megan had put on the table for the photo. And Felicia says, the Paris sign was a brilliant touch. I think the whole cafe might have heard me laugh when Megan said it on the table. I'm also looking forward to having more Eiffel Tower peeps join us, and who knows, maybe on a visit back to your hometown, you and your lovely wife could join us. You've got a deal, Felicia. Next time I'm in Perth, I'll come and hang out at your meeting. But it was really, really heartwarming for me to see that people around the world who listen to this show are meeting up, and I hope it continues. Keep sending me emails, everyone. I absolutely love it. Now, this show is brought to you by French Today. What does that mean? It means they're sponsors of the Monday episodes of the Eiffel Tower, and in return for you guys hearing about sort of my progress with them, you also get a discount. And at the moment, there's a 20% discount anyway, which when you add my percent discount, my 10%, you're going to get 30 off. So go there right now, frenchtoday.com/earful7. Try Earful 8 if you're listening in August, which is in just a couple of days. But go and look at their audiobooks. I've already been talking for quite a lot on this episode, so I'm going to keep this one short. And for another reason, Camille is going to be in Paris on the 3rd, and I'm going to do a walk show with her. She wants to do it in French, so I'm open to it, but we'll see. There's going to be something, so make sure you're following on Facebook. I'll do it free for the public, but I figured I'd just give you a little taste of some of the audiobooks. And I was clicking through. It's been so hot in Paris. I was thinking about the weather. And I found myself in the Moi Paris level 3. What does that mean? It means the audiobook, there's 8 of them, sort of progressively getting more challenging or more difficult as you're learning French. And level 3 is kind of sort of a beginner-ish level. And what I figured I'd do is she's got a handful of sentences to explain when the weather is good. So I'm going to put it in my ear right now and I'm going to repeat a few out to you. And yeah, take the challenge maybe and try these out yourself. Let's go. So here's one. It's a gorgeous day. Il fait un temps superbe. Splendide. Magnifique. So there you go. There's one. The weather's getting better. Le temps s'améliore. The sky is clear. Le ciel est clair. Or you could say le ciel est dégagé, which means without clouds. There's one to try. Le ciel est dégagé. Il y a un soleil radieux, means the sun is very bright. It's going to be great weather all day. Le temps est au beau fixe. That's a nice one. And last one here. Not one cloud in the sky. Il n'y a pas un nuage en vue. En vue. Il n'y a pas un nuage en vue. I like that one. So there's a few things to try out. I had her in my ear as I was doing that to make my pronunciation as positive and good as possible. So you guys can try a similar trick. It's all about repeating. So there's a few for you. As for me, Paris is looking very beautiful and I'm going to get out there. You might even say there's not a cloud in the sky or le ciel est dégagé. That's what I'd say and I'm going to go out and enjoy it. Thank you very much for listening to the Eiffel Tower and I hope you have an absolutely lovely week. Au revoir.